Ooh, hello, hi. We're back, y'all. Welcome to a new episode of the Just Gaming Tingz Podcast. Our first episode of this year. Oh my god, we haven't seen you since last year. Oh my god, it's. I had to do it. Come on now. This is an all queer podcast where we talk about video games, gaming news, nerdy things. I'm one of your hosts, Project Ruby, joined by the lovely Dextralicious. Hi.
Hello, hi.
So good to see you again. I missed y'all.
Miss y'all too.
Yes. We say as if we haven't been on Discord calls like consistently since the last episode.
As if I'm not harassing everyone in their personal streams constantly.
You say harassing, I say enjoyful. Yep. Enjoyable banter. Hi, Lotus.
Hi, good to see you this year.
Yes. Oh my God. So good to see you this year. New year, new podcast. New season of the podcast, baby. Technically,
Yeah,
I've been
right.
labeling these as like season 1. So you know what? We can do season 2 now. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Season 2 for 2022.
Keep it simple. I love that.
Yeah. Well, we usually start our podcasts with like the news of the week and stuff like that, but we were gone for like a couple weeks, which, you know, not so coincidentally were also like holiday, New Year's kind of weeks, so we ended up like not, you know, prioritizing the podcast, if you will. Like we were just kind of like doing our own things and focusing on what was going on. But so we figured we would start with what we've been playing because, you know, we want to catch y'all up with what we've been doing and all of that fun stuff and what we thought about the games that we were playing / are playing. So let's do that, shall we? I know Dex has been having a lot of emotions around a certain online MMO.
You know, maybe there were some feelings here and there, but I'm always the one that plays the least. So it's just like I played 14, Final Fantasy 14, and then like Fortnite here and there, and like that's all I've been doing for the past month.
Yeah. Were there any like, because I know they on Fortnite they had like a holiday type situation. So what was that like? Because I didn't play at all.
It was just class. You could hide in snowmen. You could like make your feet ice cubes. All that jazz. I don't remember what else happens. Oh, if you like block Santa, they'll like shoot you.
Ooh, sexy. I don't know. I didn't know what to say, so I was just like sexy.
Oh my.
And what about on 14? I know you've been doing a lot of crafting, right?
That's been a time very draining. I feel like I put in a lot of effort for not a lot of payout, so I'm definitely still disoriented from that. But on the smaller things, like there was a little holiday event that I skipped through because I just wanted it to be over. And then but I did end up having like a date with an NPC I liked at the end of the event, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to this. And then there was another event that started a few days ago, and it came with a very pretty tiger furnishing item. So about to put that all over my house.
Oh yeah, because Year of the Tiger, right?
Yeah, Year of the Tiger.
Cute. Who's any tigers in chat? Rise up. I think I'm Year of the Dog, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
I'm Year of the Rabbit. I know that.
Come on,
if you're the rabbit, then I'm probably Year of the Rabbit.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because you're both 1999 girlies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a friend of mine once told me that they're Year of the Rat, and I was like, "That sounds fitting, rat." And no, it was.
Delete it, rat.
I just had to use the opportunity to attack a friend. That's what we do. What about you, Lotus? What have you been playing?
I've also been dipping in and out of Fortnite. The new season is good. Gunplay is good. Builders have been nerfed, so like I'm enjoying it more than usual. So yeah, it's fun. The Christmas stuff was honestly kind of annoying for the most part. Like the quests were annoying, and opening the gifts was very annoying. But all the snowmen and how they dressed up the map, that was all cute. It's just a little back and forth. Other than that, the main game that I like played and finished is Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator, which I really enjoy.
That name.
It's excellent. It's by the same developer who made An Airport for Aliens, currently run by dogs. Only long game titles. And you basically play as intergalactic organ stock market person, which is why every single time I have rated someone on stream for the past 3 weeks, I've said buy low, sell high for no reason. It's just really entertaining to be you really get into it, where you start playing casually and then 30 minutes later you are fully talking like a stockbroker. I swear to God, the market crash today has really impacted my sales of livers tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna do. That bastard Chad Shakespeare stole that soul right from under my nose, and it was such a good price. I can't believe it. Just ridiculous, but it's really fun, especially if you like, a hard simulator where you're actually interacting with UI, as if it's an actual program. So that's really fun. I highly recommend that one.
I've definitely been to a few of those, and the moments that you catch off, sometimes the moments where you're watching a stream but you're doing other things, and then you catch certain things being said out of context, and you're like, oh yeah, because she's playing that game. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I played a bit of Phasmophobia over the course of December. And I hadn't played it for months. Since it first kind of blew up, I played it in the span of that 3-4 months. And then missed every major update because I wanted to be surprised. Oh my God. That's a good game. That's a very good game that I'm very bad at and all my friends are bad at. So we die. Or someone dies every time. I usually manage to survive and they die. And then I leave.
But I love that you had to clarify that. You were going to say we die. Then you were like, no, not me though. But not
I'm
me.
infamous for it at this point. Ever since the first day I started playing Phasmo, I had known nothing, but I had seen someone else playing and talking about how to hide. And so, of course, I was like, okay, well, that's probably something I should know. So just from playing a few days of Phasmo with other streamers, especially streamers in Rainbow Arcade, I just got known for don't try to hide near Lotus or go where Lotus is going, because I'll hide better than you and you will die. But yeah, pretty high survival rate for me. It's very good. It's very scary. It's still quite confusing, but I don't want to look up how it works because then it won't be as scary,
Right.
I need to feel the fantasy. Yeah, the only other thing I played in that is the demo for Tynk and the final phono record. Tynk spelled Tynk. You play as a little cat girly who makes music and has made a new album involving one of those cat keyboards where you press it and it meows. Oh. And you are trying to get famous. So you're going around town and to your friends and trying to show off the album. And it's pretty cool. It's very enjoyable.
That sounds really cute.
Yeah. It gets a little spooky because, self-doubt, artistry kind of things. It goes to a spooky realm, but it wasn't too scary, I think. I really liked it. So yeah, that's most of what I've done.
Cute. I decided to give myself the challenge for the last couple weeks of the year to play 3 Yakuza games because they were leaving Game Pass, and I said, I'm not about to miss on this deal because I got this subscription for I think €1 or something like that. So I was like, I'm not about to pay for any of these games about to leave Game Pass, so I'm playing all of them. And honestly, the first games ended up being Yakuza 0, Kiwami 1, and 2, which are the first 3 chronological ones. And it was the first 3 that released like whenever they came to the West. Because if I'm not mistaken, the first couple Yakuza games only released in Japan and all the way back in the PlayStation 2 era. So needless to say, I had a fun time looking up the original and how it looked in comparison to the experiences that I had. But Yakuza 0 for me was really, really fun because I think looking back now that I played the first 3 ones, it was kind of an opportunity for them to kind of flesh out the characters a little bit more and to make it more of like an in-depth experience that ended up making Yakuza 0 the standard for me for the series, which in comparison so far the others have been paling in comparison. So that's unfortunate for them, but you know, exciting for me because the first game of the series ended up being like my favorite. Like because I was a little bit on a time constraint and I was doing it only on stream, I ended up missing out on a couple things. Like I wasn't able to do side quests, which is something that Yakuza is extremely well known for. Which I guess I should give kind of a rundown on Yakuza and what it's about. Like Yakuza is, according to Sega, based upon only fiction. It's not based on anything that may have taken place in real life. So take that into consideration. But it's the Yakuza. It's kind of like, I guess if I were to put it to terms so that people over here in the West kind of get it, it's kind of like a mafia of sorts. Very like underground, shady businesses, shady things going on, a lot of pinkies getting cut off over betrayal. And the cool thing about the first one is that it takes place in the 80s, so you get to experience fun things like going to the disco and going karaokeing and all that stuff. Which I did miss the disco for the following 2 games that I ended up playing because, you know, it wasn't the 80s anymore. But it was cute. I liked that throughout the progression of the game. 0 had a thing where you had to go to phone booths to save, and then by Kiwami 2, it had autosave because you had a cell phone. So I just liked like small little details like that. And I really enjoyed it. The Kiwami and Kiwami 1 for me felt a little less exciting because for Kiwami 1 I already knew the characters, and then without getting into too many spoilers, let's just say that your best friend from 0 ends up being your main enemy in 1, so you can imagine how that's gonna go. And then for 2, it's just like, to me it felt like you ended up the game at a good point where like the first game, the first technical Yakuza game ends up with like a cliffhanger of like, oh, what happened? And then the second one is like, oh, they're good, everything's fine, and it's like going back, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, oh, I guess everything's back to normal, quote unquote, and what everyone said last game doesn't matter because everyone is just back, and you know, yeah, all of that stuff. So gameplay wise, I do love the third one, the second one. I mean, the third one I played, the second one in general. Confusing times. But I am curious to see what the other games have in store and how they go forth with the story. But yeah, this last one that I did play did leave like a weird taste in my mouth because it was like, from a Japanese perspective, them being like, these damn Koreans, the Korean mafia are evil, and the foreigner aliens, and all these things. Mm-hmm. And I was like, come on, y'all are doing the same thing. And if anything, they're just avenging themselves because of things that y'all did to them. So like, don't make this a thing that like they're somehow worse than you just because they're Korean. But anyways, I did watch a very fascinating video, very off topic, and totally unrelated, but it was about like how the alleged connections between the actual Yakuza and Sega which the video was actually very funny at like the amount of disclaimers that they did every time, because it was like, this in a totally unrelated topic, this also happened. I should probably share it with y'all on our Just Gaming Tingz Discord, because it was actually very fascinating. But totally unrelated to Sega and the actual Yakuza. Totally alleged. None of this is confirmed. Yeah, very that. Like, oh, the Yakuza? Not that. But yeah, it was actually pretty chilling. Very interesting. Super recommend that video. I forget who made it. My bad. I'll try to look it up before the end of the podcast so that I can recommend to y'all. But yeah, that was how I ended my 2021. And so on that note, I probably played more stuff, but I have only Yakuza on my mind. I'm still uploading those VODs, so I'm still catching up on that. But yeah, on that note, I figured before we get on with the new year, we should do something that, if we were to stream on the last couple of weeks, we would probably have talked about our highlights for 2021 and our favorite releases, our favorite experiences. And so I figured we would each share like maybe one or two things that were kind of like our highlights for 2021. I think it could be cute if this year we made our own like award show kind of thing, and like at the end of the year, instead of just the game awards, we did our own with like different categories potentially, like the sexiest character or stuff like that.
I like how that's the first one. You could have said best ongoing game. You could have said game of the year that didn't come out this year, but you went straight.
Listen, y'all know where my mind is at. I have no
gutter,
shame.
girly.
Listen, that's my category. If everyone comes up with a category, that's mine. The sexy character, sexiest character. And we know that Lady D is not going to be there this year, so
please.
So that's fun, unless they do a VR version. Which anyway, let's not speculate yet on 2022 things. But yeah, should we do the same order, and each of us can kind of highlight one game, and then if we have multiple, we can kind of keep circling back.
Yeah.
So, I wonder what your favorite experience
Most
for 2021 was, Dex. I'm so curious.
It was hard for me to decide, but it was Super Monkey Ball. Just kidding. It was Final Fantasy. It was Final Fantasy 14. Because as all we all know or probably know, Endwalker dropped in the beginning of December, and I've been playing it and I've been enjoying it. However, I really did enjoy the story, but there were definitely a lot of moments where I was just exhausted by what was going on. Because I know that I'm a very critical person when it comes to games, so a lot of times I get annoyed very easily, and everybody knows this. So when there's villains that just keep coming back and there's nothing you can do about it, and they make you feel helpless, it's kind of like that thing where it's you're helpless in cutscenes, but you're killing gods and shit in gameplay. So it's just I was getting annoyed because the villain would keep coming back, and then there was a whole segment where it's we couldn't do anything for whatever reason. Things happened that I feel should not have happened, and going on, and then also they were prepping. I know there was a lot of talk even from the developers that there was going to be a lot of loss or whatever. So or there might be a lot of loss. So of course, I went into the preconceived notion that would be losing people. So when the moment happened, I didn't feel anything. I was aware of it. I already knew it was going to happen, but then it made the moment dull, and then what happened after didn't make it any better. Because then I was then what was the purpose of everything? But overall, the story was still really good, and I had a lot of fun with all the content that was there. And but crafting has been consuming my life, and that's unfortunately the cross I bear.
No.
What about you, Lotus?
I've played a lot of games this year.
Oh, have you now?
I don't know if you guys noticed week over week, but I play games pretty regularly.
What a shocking revelation.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the first one that comes to mind is Chicory, A Colorful Tale, which at Spin Blend, I have been trying to get to play this game for like a month and a half because I know Spin will love it. I mean, I think most people will. It's definitely the kind of game where it's like, if you're gay and you just want to have a cute, fun time, you should just play Chicory. Like, it has its emotional core and it is sweet. And maybe you'll cry. I didn't, but I could see somebody crying. And it's just nice. It's just fun. You gotta color stuff. You gotta dress up your little doggy. Chicory is not the name of the doggy. You are the doggy, and you named the dog after your favorite food. So mine was named Chimkin. I think the dog's canon name is Pizza. You can name them whatever you like. And Chicory is just very good. Great soundtrack. Beautiful. Sweet. Endearing. That's a game that I feel comfortable recommending to basically anyone that I played this year.
Just to clarify, was that a game that came out this year or just your favorite experience
It came out this year, yeah.
Okay, cute. Cute.
It was snubbed like many good games at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I feel like I heard a lot of buzz around that. I do think that, like, I think we do stand in a different position where we do witness like fellow gamers TM like through other streams and stuff like that, and we see like a lot of excitement about certain games, but then that doesn't always translate to like the press, like gaming press, who's actively covering and like nominating games for things. So then when we go and turn around and we're like, wait, where was that game? Where were the nominations for that? So yeah, I totally get that. I think for me, one of my biggest problem is that I do play a lot of games. I did stream a total of 41 games, but a big majority of those did not come out in 2021. So it's difficult for me to have these conversations where we're like topical and stuff like that, because I'm like, I don't know, I played Sonic Mania and like Space Channel 5, and it's like this did not come out 2021.
No, but, I think it's fine if they didn't come out in 2020. Like I think a list of games that did not come out this year but that were my favorite games that I played this year is completely valid, especially because, the games aren't going to go away. It's always a good recommendation,
Also, because 2 of my 4 games that I played this year did not come out this year, so it's just...
For sure. But I guess if I am to make a recommendation for a game that did come out this year, which is actually one of my favorite games in general, was actually Unpacking. I talked about it often, I think, here on the podcast. Listen, I don't remember what I did yesterday, so I probably already said all of these things about this game. But Unpacking was a really, really nice experience. The game has a Game Boy Advanced kind of like a pixel art aesthetic to it, which I really enjoy, how like pixel art can be so detailed and so like incredible now, because there's no, I was going to say there's no hardware restrictions, but like realistically for pixel art, there really aren't in comparison to like, SNES and all that stuff. So the game was like beautiful. The soundtrack was like very enjoyable. It was very like, lo-fi tunes to study and focus to type of vibes. But it was very nice. Like all you did in that game was literally take things out of boxes, put them into like place, literally unpacking, excuse me. And I really liked that way of storytelling. I thought it was very creative because you made a lot of assumptions that were oftentimes correct as you were looking at items, like and simple things like, oh my god, they still have the plushie from their like childhood room, and like, oh, they don't have any space for their things. This is weird. Oh, you can't hang their, you can't hang their accomplishment on any wall. That's suspicious. And then there's just like a lot of things that take place throughout the game, even like the attire of maybe your significant other, and you make assumptions about their gender, which isn't always the greatest thing to do. But if it ends with queer rights, then we can appreciate that at least. I will say none of my thoughts, feelings, and concerns were affected by this, but I did get a key to stream it, so I just wanted to say that. But it was genuinely like one of my faves. Like, it's not a game that I will necessarily go back to because it's like there's really not much that you can do. I mean, you can turn off the setting where like the game forces you to have things, in correct places so you don't put your toaster in the bath. But you can turn that off if you want. So, if you want to get more creative even with the placement of the items, you can totally do that. But yeah, really, really extremely enjoyable experience from this year. But yeah, do we have another round of recommendations that we want to give to our listeners and viewers?
I think so.
Yeah, and yeah, it doesn't have to be a game that came out this year. I do like that we can establish that too, because we have things going on, and we can't,
We
and we don't
have
always
backlogs.
want to. Yeah,
Right.
that too, right? Yeah. What's your second recommendation, Dex?
Okay, my second recommendation came out, I believe, December before last year, but I ended up playing it at the beginning of this year, or like this past year. And it was Watch Dogs Legion. And now the story to Watch Dogs Legion is that you play as like basically kind of like a spy group or like a hacker group or whatever, trying to like like help out London, somewhere in the UK. And however, like we start in the past, probably like 10 years or something, and then what happens is that a bombing goes off across like the town or the country, and then um, the spy group is blamed for that, even though like somebody else did it, but we don't know who exactly were the people that did the bombing. So then the whole game is like you're trying to like build back up the spy group, which is not me not remembering the name. It's been so long. I played it like a year ago. But you're like
Are they
building up
Dead Sec? Or is that
Dad
another
Sec.
game?
Yeah,
I
that's
pulled
it.
that completely out of my ass.
Damn,
Thank
you
I
have
think
that
it's like the same through all
stored
of
somewhere
the.
in there.
I think it's the same through all of the games because I think like they were like doing a callback to like the original or whatever. So yeah, you were like building up DeadSec from the ground up again. You were like collecting people off the street, which I thought was really fun because then I would just have this like old fucking lady on my team. I played as my icon, Miss Katie. She was funny as hell. She was making me thrive the whole time. I absolutely loved her. I loved like being able to dress them up. I wish there was more clothing options, but for the most part, like there was some really good looking clothing, and it's just like you're trying to like take on the world and take down these bad bitches and save the UK.
Iconic.
So I highly recommend that because it was a very fun experience. I'd say it was like a good amount of time played for sure.
Nice. And the UK
Very
certainly needs to
nice.
be saved from a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
From themselves a lot of times. Anyway, this is not. Ooh. I was like, ooh, we're getting into politics here.
Oh.
The European being salty at the UK for decisions that they make. Interesting. Anyway, Lotus.
Say it ain't so. I think this one is also not a game that came out this year, but also kind of did, so technically cheating, but also kind of not. I don't know. Devotion by Red Candle Games, which most of y'all probably know is a Taiwanese development studio. And there was drama in Conflama the year Devotion actually came out, which I think was 2019 or 18, because people found a note in the game, like a physical, like just asset on a wall that had meme criticism of the Chinese president. So the game was removed from everything everywhere, and Red Candle Games went completely silent. Didn't hear from them for like a year. And now the game's back on Steam. Or no, I'm sorry, not on Steam. On their own store, Red Candle Games. And it's a great horror game. It's a shame that it got kind of hamstrung by all of that, because say what you want to say, in my opinion, but
Is the note still there?
No.
Oh.
It was because it was specifically the infamous reference of Winnie the Pooh, which you cannot do if you are in China or a Chinese satellite or whatever. Completely illegal. You can't say that shit. So that's why the game got taken down. And of course, they said like, "Oh, this was a placeholder. This wasn't meant to be like the game isn't a criticism of the Chinese government." But then Chinese fans were saying it worked because they were like reading into that one note, and it was a whole big ass mess. And that's why it was completely unplayable anywhere for like a year, 2 years. But yeah, it's a great game. all that aside, it is like a Taiwanese folk horror game, specifically about a kind of struggling family. The mother and wife used to be an actress, but she kind of had to give that up to take care of their kid because the husband was a famous writer who had horrible writer's block and was maybe not that great a writer in the first place. So they end up going with money struggles, and they want to make their daughter a star. But yeah, there's a lot into it. Definitely like a lot of content warnings for like, I mean, obviously the obvious one of like ghosts and spooky things, but also like children in danger and maybe domestic abuse. It's not like explicitly shown or anything, but you get it very clearly what is going on. And yeah, just a really interesting game to play. I would say it's not like the scariest horror game I've ever played, and I definitely feel like they knew that and like added in extra scares because they were worried people would say it wasn't scary. You know what I mean? Like it didn't need them. My biggest criticism is that there's a couple scares in there that this game just didn't need to have and are kind of weird. But all the story stuff, delicious. I recommend Devotion to any horror fan.
Yes. I've been kind of contemplating between a few, and none of them came out this year. So I think I'm tempted to say Yakuza 0, but for the sake of me literally talking about any other game, and also I'm afraid of recency bias being a thing because it's fresher on my memory. I will say I had a surprisingly great time with Pokemon Silver. In the midst of everyone playing Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I decided to play Gen 2, and it was so lovely. And I think the reason I say it's surprising, it's not because like the OG Pokemon games weren't good. It's just that I was expecting to suffer a little bit, because you always expect to suffer a little bit when you play an older game, because it's like maybe the UI isn't going to be very fun to navigate. Maybe there's going to be some mechanics that aren't, that weren't maybe present back then that Pokemon has now. But to me, it felt like a really, really nice mixture of nostalgia for me having played the original Gen 1, but also like new stuff because I didn't play the original Gen 2 or much of any variation of Gen 2 anyway. Even though it has some of my favorite Pokemon, which is funny to think about. But yeah, I had a great time with it. It was a really fun time. I genuinely can't think of like a thing that was like rotted about it. It was just genuinely like a fun trip into nostalgia for me, and yeah, it was very nice. It didn't feel like the game was too difficult or too easy. Cough cough, Sword and Shield. It didn't feel like it felt like there was still like a few things to do, and it felt like I still got a pretty decent collection of Pokemon under my belt, even if I wasn't actively trying to catch them all. Going against the grain, going against what you're supposed to do, I guess. But yeah, it was cute. It was really, really fun. I definitely recommend. I feel like also Gen 2 is kind of underrated in my opinion. I feel like in a lot of conversations that have to do with Pokemon, I feel like maybe Gen 1 is overrated. I feel like as a general consensus, everyone's like, okay, we're over Gen 1. We get a Pikachu, whatever. But I do feel like Gen 3...
We get a Pikachu.
Yeah, like Gen 3, I feel like, and Gen 4 are some of the most, like, beloved, especially the original Gen 4. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts and feelings and concerns about the remake, but I haven't played it, so I'm not going to share those thoughts. But yeah, it was cute. I think it was definitely, like, a nice welcome change, considering my previous experience with Pokemon was Sword and Shield, and that to me, I have gotten back to it on my own time, and to me it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like there's some sort of magic missing there. And it was really nice to feel that magic again, if that makes sense. I know it's really, really hard to explain vibes, but yeah, that was definitely one of my recommendations for a game that I played that didn't necessarily come out, not at all, in 2021. But yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out to Final Fantasy VII Remake because I really did love it, and technically it did come out in 2021 through Epic, but no, I really enjoyed it.
We count ports.
Deleted port. Well, those were some of our recommendations for the year of 2021. I know that Lotus does have some piece of content coming out for that, and I want you to kind of promo that a little bit because
okay, yeah. So last year, on a whim, with no editing experience or knowledge, I decided I was gonna make a 30-minute video of 21 indie games that were coming out in 2021. And I did it. I'm actually pretty happy with how it came out. And also other people were very interested in getting to know other indie games. Some of them did come out this year, like Sable. Some of them got delayed because Miss Covina is still alive and well. So I don't know if that's a real thing. I made it up. Whatever. The point is, I'll be doing another one. I mean, that video came out in like February, so that's just funny. Like, this is a video for 2021. It's coming out in February of 2021. This one is looking at a similar timescale, but yeah, 22 indie games coming out in 2022. And definitely, it's like a soft rule, but I'm going to try not to do like indie games that are being heavily featured, like no Annapurna games, no Devolver games. If something has been like heavily featured in the Nintendo indie world showcases, like try not to do that. Try and genuinely bring new things and no repeats from last year, even if they got rescheduled to come out this year. Maybe a little mention at the end, like, by the way, these didn't end up coming out, so go do those ones. But yeah, so that'll be fun. I got the list. I got most of the writing done. And I have to record and edit it, which is the worst part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Recording is the worst.
Yeah, I don't mind recording. Because I do a lot of my recordings on Twitch, but then it's like having to edit and then edit out a lot of ums and yas and silences and interactions with chat that are irrelevant to the YouTube video. It's a lot. So I don't blame you for taking your time.
Yeah, but it's because mine's not like a Let's Play, so I'm reading off of a script, right? So there's no ums. It's me clapping loudly so I know when to cut and then doing it again so that it's a good take. But just doing that like 22 times.
Right.
It's a little rough.
You got it. I believe.
Thank you.
With that being said, we are going to talk a little bit about 2022 now, because it's the current year we're in. And we figured we would start the year off with kind of a thing that we did last year, where we kind of did a little bit of like, things that we're excited for, plus like wishful thinking that will probably never happen, but we're going to put out there. In which case I say, where's my Sailor Moon game? I'm still waiting. But yeah, we're gonna talk about 2022 video game releases. We do have a little reference from Game Informer, because they always generally have a compiled list of general release dates and general highlights and noteworthy releases, whatever that means, for the year ahead. And so I figured we could go down the line and each maybe like shout out one game, kind of like what we did for our 2021 moment. And, give a little blip about like maybe what we're excited for when the game is allegedly coming out. And that's actually a thing that I do want to say and preface at the beginning of the year. I don't care if they're a AAA. I don't care if they're the indiest of indies. Don't hold any of these release dates to like harass anyone over them, because, Miss Covina, like Lotus said, she's still out and about and shaking her tits more than ever. So, just every release date and release schedule is alleged in this podcast episode.
TM.
TM, yeah. Don't harass anyone, please. But yeah, Dex, do you have any? It doesn't have to be your most anticipated game either. But do you have a game that you're like eyeing and you're like, interesting?
Oh, as a surprise to no one, Saints Row coming out in August. I'm excited about it because I've always been checking in on the Twitter to see what's been going on with it. And it looks like the game's really fun, and it's like kind of like wackiness, but it's basically like I'm the majority where it's like we enjoyed like the wackiness that was in the third game, but then the fourth game was just a little too much. There was a little too much going on in the fourth. So it's like I'm hoping that it like kind of stays between like the second and the third game because like the first two were very serious. So like I'd say definitely I'd be like going for Saints Row, and I'm only gonna say this now because like Saints Row was the only one I'm looking for. I was looking at the list and I saw Marvel's Midnight Suns on there, and I was like, I'm only excited for that because Wolverine is hot. So
Short
yes,
King.
yes, absolutely. The only short stock I love. So I love that for me.
Well, the statement has been made. Do you think it will actually come out in August? Because I know that they've had a couple complications where I think they've delayed a couple times, right? Or maybe
They've
once?
delayed once, but at least what they're showing on their Twitter, like now that we're actually getting gameplay and stuff, I feel like August would be a good day, like a good month for it. So I think they can do it, but we'll see.
Cute. I love that. Like August is a notorious busy month for releases, and right now in the schedule, it's like Saints Row and Saints Row only, and it's like, oh honey, you got a big storm coming. But yeah, Lotus, what about you? Just a little tease for your upcoming video. It doesn't have to be indie, I guess.
so many indie games come out that I do have more than 22 actually.
Oh, cute.
And including ones that do fall under that like triple I thing where people probably know about them, but whatever, I'm still excited. Oxenfree 2, I'm very excited for. Oxenfree 1 being like a teen drama, but also with ghosts and like an ARG element. Just a very cool game. Shockingly good voice acting. Is somewhat well-written teens, but also kind of sometimes fall into the Life is Strange like category of written teens. But overall, really cool and just a fun game to play and to speculate on. And I remember like that 2015 era of YouTube with the Oxenfree theories everywhere was incredible. So good. It was really good. So yeah, I just hope that they can do that, but even bigger with Oxenfree 2. It looks like it's going to feature, like it won't be teens, it'll be like more of the adults who like came before them. So that seems interesting. Yeah.
All right. When is that allegedly coming out?
I don't think they have a hard release date. I think it's just 2022. I can check though.
That's fair. I actually prefer that when they're just like, it's coming sometime this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe.
So then they can fully delay it in the year. Like nobody
Exactly.
Right.
I love a quarter. I love to just say quarter 2, 2022. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. I have actually this year. I think there's gonna be a lot of 2022 releases that are gonna destroy all of my scalp. One that, I mean, just in general, just like, leave me bald and wigless because of how good they are. No, but one of my recent-ish releases allegedly is Triangle Strategy. I'm actually very, very excited for that one, as clownish as that title is, and at this point it's too late for them to change it. But I am really, really excited for the game itself because it was one of those experiences where I downloaded the demo and I was so into it that I ended up like staying so late to play it, and still like was like thinking about it the next day. And it's just one of those games that like it has the same art style as oh god, I forget Is it Bravely Default? No. Am I thinking of a different one? Octopath. Yeah, that's the one. It's like Octopath, like in the sense of like pixel art, but it's also like Final Fantasy Tactics, which I'm assuming Miss Square Enix is looking at this as like, are people interested in tactical games like Final Fantasy Tactics? So we'll see how this does. But I'm really excited for it because they have this sort of like political kind of situation where like all of your characters get to vote on the decisions, and you kind of have to try to like persuade them to like do like your like to agree with you or to change their mind. But ultimately your character only has that one vote, and it's very interesting to see how certain decisions will be made as far as like how the story will go based even on your own like interactions with like other people. And there's sort of like a morality system in a way that your decisions end up leaning the scales quite literally. They do have an actual scale. And it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. The gameplay felt really, really smooth, and I'm just like very, very excited for it. I think it will kind of be an underrated release because it's a Switch exclusive and because the title is very clownish. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, triangle strategy, that sounds silly. I'm not going to buy that. But I do have very high expectations for that one, and I hope that it's good. But March in general is looking very juicy, so I'm concerned for my wallet and for my plans in general, because I'm like, I don't buy new games, and then it's like Chocobo GP, Stranger of Paradise, which is probably not going to be good, but I am still excited for it because I'm a clown. Yeah, we'll see how that will go. But I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited for Triangle Strategy. So, yeah. Should we do a round 2 for?
Yeah, I think so.
Another game that we potentially will get wet over.
Cut the cameras.
Maybe not wet. It's a little drizzle. Okay, anyway.
Not a drizzle. Anyways. I'm personally with Lotus on Oxenfree 2. I completely, like, my brain, like, skipped over it when I looked at the list. But I had such a good time with Oxenfree when I was younger. And it was, like, it was there in my teen years. So I loved that. I personally I did feel really sad and like annoyed about the ending, but like me being annoyed was surprised. But I really did I love the whole experience of it and like all the theories and stuff, and that really got me on. So I'm excited to see the second one. And now I want to talk about the Life is Strange like behavior of writing teens because all I have to say is Life is Strange got me saying hella. So that's all I need to say. So I say hella is in my vocabulary. Thank you, terrible teen writing. And that's all I have to say. Excited for Oxenfree 2.
Oh no. I remember playing that game and specifically being like, who talks like this? And then meanwhile there's a Dextralicious in the world that I hadn't met yet that was literally learning to talk like that.
Yeah, that's hella.
But I think the West Coasters say hella, like genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Which it technically like is in the West Coast.
Yeah. They're in Washington, right?
I think.
I'm pretty sure they're in Washington and they want to go to California to Santa Monica.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Washington or Oregon? It might be Oregon.
I think it's Oregon, but
I don't. All those states are the same to me.
Yeah, they're all next to each other. I think.
As the foreigner, I'm like,
Northwest.
Yeah, they are all the same to me. I don't.
It's the one with the trees.
I'm like, I don't know.
Ruby's be like, it's Texas, Florida, and the rest.
To me, it's like Yeehaw America, East Coast America, and West Coast America.
Yeah, baby. Then we're wrong.
I'm like, there's beaches. I don't know which side of the country they're on, but it's either Florida or California.
So here's the thing about a beach, Ruby. Science lesson: is it a beach is where the land meets the water.
I
So
know.
wherever that's
I'm just
happening.
saying state names. I'm like, I don't know. It could be anything. If there's a beach, I'm like, sure. I'm like, "It's California."
California.
Anyway, 2022 releases. Enough about my clownish behavior. I still need to fill out a map of America, like an empty map, and me.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Yes, because Smallsy did that, and he got friend of the pod, Australian legend, got clowned for it for his rendition of the
Because
map
North
of America.
Carolina was like below South Carolina.
I know.
It does sound like something we do, though. Like, to be fair, we have a West Virginia and then just Virginia.
Yeah.
Like, it's just called, like, I don't understand, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still need to do that and get roasted for it. Maybe that will be an upcoming goal.
Oh, yes.
Listen, if I'm gonna suffer for years to come and have people never forget my mistakes for that one, then I better be paid for it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
So yeah, 2022. What are we looking forward to?
I'm cautiously looking forward to Redfall, the Bethesda Arcane co-op vampire murder game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried because it is Arcane and Bethesda, so I just the chances the
50-50
chances
chance.
of I'd say worse than that. The chances of it being fun to play in the moment are like vanishingly slim, but it looking great and making me have fun with my friends are very high. I just like the chances of moving your camera around feeling like molasses are very, very high, and that's like my main thing because that pisses me off like so fast. So I worry, but you know, I feel like it's one of those things where if they just get friends lists working, it'll be fun. You know,
If it's playable day one, then it's a victory.
I mean, Dead by Daylight didn't have that, and it's still very successful. So,
Well,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyways, on to enjoyable things, Ruby.
Yeah, I was gonna say something kind of petty about it, but that's fine. I don't have to. It's okay. I'll talk about Bayonetta's big fucking tits because I almost forgot that she was actually coming. And so am I. No, Bayonetta 3. Listen, am I on the Switch payroll? Because this is the second Switch exclusive that I'm mentioning, and I didn't mean for it. But, and I'm not, for clarification, I'm not on Nintendo's payroll. But I could be, no, just kidding. No, I'm genuinely very excited for Bayonetta 3. Gay rights. Our queen, she's returning. She's coming back home where she belongs on our systems of choice. System. It's only the Switch.
It's coming out everywhere on the Switch.
Except everywhere that is owned by Nintendo.
Coming out globally as long as you have a Switch.
Listen. Well, it's the only attainable console, so, you know, it's everything else, good luck
Is
buying
it attainable?
that. Well, at least there's no, like, you know, $2,000 scalper price for a Switch, because they don't really sell out. It's not because they're good. It's not because it's a good system. But there still are.
Yeah, OLEDs are gone.
Well,
I know the regular ones are too, but it's not as, like the OLEDs are just like good luck.
I forget about the OLED. I really do. Every time someone's like, I got an OLED, I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, I think the lights are always good.
About it too. And I completely forgot about it still. We were like, oh, a woman received 6 of them? Wig. And then I immediately forget.
Yeah. But unlike some people that think that a sexy female character is necessarily evil or terrible representation, I'm very excited to shake my tits alongside Bayonetta 3. And that's all I will say. I still haven't played Bayonetta 2, but listen, whenever there's a fixed release date for Bayonetta 3, I will count down to it by playing 2. And that's my statement.
All right.
But yeah, those are just a couple of our recommendations, or not recommendations, what we're looking forward to. But as we kind of go along, as there's more like specifics and as things actually come out, you can expect us to talk about our experiences playing said games and experiencing said experiences. Which now is just as good time as any to segue into our self-promo. So where can people experience our experience of experiences?
The smelly smell of something smelly that smells smelly.
That was very Death Stranding of me. Listen, that was very Kojima of me.
Don't do that to Mr. Krabs.
I don't know her. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so yeah, Dex, where can people experience your experiences of experiences? I hate myself.
My experiences of the experience. Dex is a best on Twitter, where I will be experiencing floppery and clownery and expressing it doubly so. And then you can find me on YouTube and Twitch at Dextralicious.
Yes. Anything you want to tease to the girls? Any 2022 moments that you're excited for?
My Kepler album is coming.
Very gaming related.
The Kepler album you ordered while... Who was it that was performing? You were like, let me just...
Super Junior, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, well, yes.
Was it? Yeah, because they performed for like a billion years. So I was like, let me order my Kepler album. And I have been working on editing a video. And by working, I mean I like put everything in there, was editing it for 2 seconds, and then haven't even touched it in like a week. So look out sometime in the next few years for that video. What about you, Loda?
A good old Square Enix release date on that one, huh?
Me editing though, like I open my software, I literally do it for like maybe 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god, how long has it been? And it's like,
yes,
oh, it's 5 minutes.
I trimmed 2 clips, and I'm like, woo, really putting in the work today.
Really.
But yeah, you can find me and also my videos that take forever to edit at Twitter, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch at Lotus Loves Lotus.
Yes, and of course, you know, the 22 games coming in 2022, incoming TM.
Incoming TM, yeah. And I also want to do, because I did play so many games this year, I want to do like a year in review. I don't know if that'll be written or be a video yet, but there's a lot of them, so nice to do a little side, just quick fire, like 2-minute reviews. It might be a 1-hour video of me doing all of them, or it might be written. Depends on how much energy I have, truly.
Right. I think for stuff like that, it's either like it ends up being like a singular tweet or a 2-hour video. Like there's no in between. It's like it's like we either have energy for a singular tweet, maybe a thread, maybe a blog post, or like full on like a video. It's like I have the time, I will talk and rant for 2 hours, and then future me can fuck themselves while editing this into a watchable video. Well, anyway, you can expect more clownery at Project Ruby on Twitch, on YouTube, and Ko-Fi. Exclusive teaser for upcoming content. I will be doing a Final Fantasy challenge series where it's Final Fantasy, but I change games every time I game over. And also not allowed to grind, at the same time not allowed to escape battles. So maybe we'll play all mainline Final Fantasy games in 2 days, but we'll see.
What is this masochism?
Maybe what? Wait.
Like, so I'll start at Final Fantasy 1.
Okay.
And then if I die 5 minutes into the game, we boot up Final Fantasy 2. But if we make it all the way to the end, then we'll wait 5 years for me to play Final Fantasy 2.
I'm gonna go all the way to 15.
Really
Does it loop?
No. No, I end it all in Final Fantasy 15. Whether it's at the beginning or the end of 15, we'll see.
I'd say if you die in 15. Never mind, I'm gonna be nice.
Don't be nice to Final Fantasy 15.
You don't have to be nice.
Not with the fat phobia. You don't have to be nice to her.
I'm just like, I believe.
The thing with 15 is like you take one wrong turn in the deeps of the forest and you're fucked if you find like a huge like mob that you're not supposed to encounter at that time. But will I be doing that? No.
It is what Texas is like, at least, so it's kind of accurate.
Well.
And are you going to go through all the 13 games, the 50 of them?
No, it's only going to be like mainline stuff, excluding 11 and 14 because it's like you can't really game over with those.
You just die in a dungeon and you just log out.
Yeah, it's like I die in a dungeon, I cancel my subscription, I say fuck Square Enix and move along.
You die once, you're like, all right, guys, better wipe. So
better wipe.
Yeah, but I'm excited for that. I kicked off my year doing like quirky little fun challenges because I did want to do something different because I it's going to be my 6th year of making stuff on Twitch, so I wanted to spice things up, and so I'm trying to do like best and worst of games. TM, I did my first week with the best game and the worst game according to Metacritic of 2021. This week, I'm gonna do best and worst PlayStation 1 games. And yeah, we're gonna kind of go down the line. We're gonna do years, franchises, platforms, etc., etc. So I'm very excited for that. And so if y'all are excited for the things that I'm teasing, definitely check me out over there on my Ko-Fi, YouTube, and Twitch and stuff. And yeah, if you've watched or listened to this episode, and you sweet soul, if you made it this far, thank you. And also, drop us a like, drop us a follow, a subscription, whatever you feel like it, if you want to. But we would appreciate it. Some support from the girls. And yeah, we'll be back next week for another episode. We will be discussing privately whether or not, we're going to add more streams to our rotation, whether it's gameplay with all of us, whether it's special events and stuff. We will definitely make it a point to discuss and to privately, do some brainstorming with the girls so that we can make some fun content for y'all, either on this channel or on our own channels. Links to everyone's stuff is going to be in the description, including our lovely hosts that unfortunately couldn't make it to today's episode. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Ooh.
Bye.